You know how competitive this world is. There's fight for next promotion. There's fight for market share. You're battling with your competition. And on so many fronts, you want to win. Of course, fairly and ethically. But it's an interesting world out there, and like me, if you believe and follow history, there are so many interesting lessons we can have from the wars that have happened around the world. They say if you don't learn from history, you might be at fault of repeating the history, and you might be repeating all those mistakes. As a good student of history, human nature, and how the business operates, I thought some of these lessons we can learn from wars and war heroes, from winners and losers, could be very helpful as you make your career choices and decisions, about your business choices and decisions. So here we go. Empathize with others. They say the Third World War was avoided because the American president was able to empathize with the Russian head of state during Cuba Missile Crisis. Both Russia and US, they had almost decided that they are going to start a nuclear war with each other because they were at conflict in Cuba. But there was one smart diplomat who had worked in Russia, who was from US, and he was quite close to President Kennedy. And he told President Kennedy, "Mr. President, you are wrong. Let us not fight this. Let us not start this nuclear war. I have worked in Moscow. I know Russian head of state Nikita Khrushchev well, and I don't think they want to start a war, but there is a lot of posturing that is going on. So it is better that we communicate with them. We tell them what are the consequences of the war, and we might be able to avoid this war." And that is exactly what happened. When the American side and Russian side started talking, and they shared each other's concerns, and then they found out a solution, and that is how the Third World War was avoided. This is extremely, extremely critical. Whether you are running a startup, whether you are an executive, whether you are serving your customers, it is very important that what is going on in the head of other people. For example, if you want a promotion, you have to see what are the priorities of your boss and plan accordingly. If you want to crack a deal, you have to understand what other side wants, what you can offer, and then how you can maximize value. If you are serving customers, you have to understand what is the customer's mindset, what the customer's needs and aspirations are, and then accordingly position your product or a service. So always empathize with the other side, understand what is going on there in their mind, put yourself in their shoes, and then make best decisions. But if you only think about yourself, so many problems will happen. Maximize efficiency. This is also partly inspired by the work done by John McNamara, who was the Secretary of State during Vietnam War. No matter what we say, what we do, what we think, but what matters is what kind of results you get, what kind of output you are able to generate. And for that, you have to be extremely, extremely efficient, of course, for the right purpose and a cause. If you just compare China and India, China started opening up 10 years before India. They have been growing 8 to 10% for a long period of time. India started little late. But now if you see after 20-30 years, Chinese economy is more than 5 times the size of India. They are so far ahead of India, whether it's military, whether it's industrial development, whether it is per capita income. So that's critical. Whatever you do, whatever you think, whatever your philosophies are, what is important is, are you able to do things effectively and efficiently and generate the necessary outcomes? Otherwise, you can't compete in this global marketplace, and you will be judged based on what you have delivered and not based on what you said. Get the data. One of my bosses always used to say, in God we trust, rest all should bring data. We are in the digital age, where data is the new oil, and the people who own data, they will also rule the world. You can see that through the market capitalization of whether it is Amazon or Reliance Industries or Google and many other big companies. Those who have data and customer insights, they rule this world. So many times we see that people are making qualitative statements which are absolutely wrong. Important business decisions are done based on gut feel or intuition, and then everybody pays the price. We live in an extremely analytical, competitive world where data is available, and unless you make sense out of data and strengthen your decision making, you are at a huge disadvantage. You see this in day-to-day lives as well, how financial brokers sell you products without telling you complete data and information. You see that when you make your purchase decisions. You see that when you get stuck in bad real estate deals. So it is very, very important that you look at any situation from a data-driven mindset and then take the right decisions. Beliefs as well as what you see can be often wrong. Japanese have a very interesting saying, Genshi Genbutsu, go and see yourself. What happens is, many times we have certain beliefs which have come because of certain prejudice or certain past experiences, and we apply those beliefs in wrong situations. The same thing happened in Vietnam War, when Americans were fighting a proxy war in Vietnam. Americans thought that Vietnamese might go communist way, and it is important that they save this nation from communism, while Vietnamese were fighting the war for their independence. Americans and Vietnamese never spoke to each other. They never evaluated why they were fighting this war, and in the process more than 15 lakh, that is 1.5 million people, lost their lives. Had there been a proper communication, had there been a proper dialogue, had there been proper assessment, such a huge war and catastrophe could have been avoided. So don't be stuck with what you believe or what you think. Don't be stuck by what you see. Please evaluate thoroughly. Please make your decisions based on deep and thorough analysis. When Japanese were launching their cars in US, they went there and they spent a lot of time in the market. They also understood that the height of the vehicle in US needs to be different than what it was in Japan, and because of that they were able to capture the US market, beating likes of Ford and General Motors and many others. So this Japanese philosophy of go see yourself, don't believe things, don't assume things, is extremely important as you make your executive decisions, as you make your startup decisions. Many times founders and also executives, they get driven by their own assumptions. They don't talk to enough number of customers, they don't understand customer pain points, and then huge interesting ventures with a lot of investment, they fail just because there was not enough consumer research and consumer talk was done. In order to do good, sometimes you might have to do evil. Of course, we want to be doing good, we want to be righteous, we want to be ethical, but that luxury you don't have always. I was watching this recent web series where the protagonist says a very interesting statement that it is not always about choosing between right and wrong. It is about also choice could be between lesser wrong and bigger wrong. We have learned this also in Mahabharata, right? When the war happened between Kauravas and Pandavas, killing was a bad choice for Arjuna, but the Krishna told him, sometimes in order to achieve your grand objective, what is noble objective, you might have to kill your friends and relatives and so many innocent people. That's how the world operates. That's how the wars are so complicated. Innocent people lose their lives, but if you want to see that who has control of the world, you don't want another Hitler. You don't want evil people to take control of the world, and that's why sometimes these wars happen. Nobody is able to explain completely what is right and wrong, but yes, sometimes the choices have to be made between what is more wrong and less wrong. It is hard to change human nature. So many of us are stuck with the thought process that, okay, my boss behaves badly, my customer is not doing properly, my wife, my family, they are not following my orders, and we want to change the world. But that's a very wrong approach, because you can't change human nature most of the times. Human beings behave in a way based on their own judgment, based on their self-interest, based on their past experiences. You might be able to change their behavior in a certain way by using force, by using authority, by giving incentive. That's right, but you cannot change fundamental human nature. And if we all understand this important fact, I think all our lives would become much, much better. And instead of trying to change the world, we will work on ourselves to improve our capabilities, to improve our assets, to improve our own thought process, and to be so valuable that people will respect you for who you are, rather than trying to change rest of the world. So yeah, you cannot change human nature. You can modify it up to a certain extent, but what is even much more better approach could be changing and positioning yourself so that your chances of success are much, much better. None of us are warmongers, right? War is extremely destructive. It affects nations, families, businesses, but they are inevitable. You see fights happening within families. There are so many corporate battles that are going on. You see nations are at the brink of big wars and battles. So even if we don't like these things, but we have to be ready for it. As someone said, to think that the world will be fair to you because you are fair, that is like assuming the ship thinking that she doesn't eat non-veg, so lion won't eat her. The world doesn't work like that. But as far as possible, I think if you understand human nature, if you understand the way these conflicts unfold, if you understand the strategies that are at work, I think your chances of doing better in this complicated world would be higher. Still, the best strategy could be what Sun Tzu said, the Chinese way of doing things. The best general is the one who never fights a war, but he is so powerful that nobody can mess up with him. If we can imbibe that kind of approach in our lives, I think we would do much better. Thank you.